Well, ladies and gentlemen, the presentation will be on evolving Indian IT industry by Mr. Ajai Garg, Senior Director, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, he's an engineer by qualification and a champion of information technology by choice. Dr. Garg is a regular speaker at workshops, conferences, and forums in India and abroad dealing with innovation, IPR, and emerging technology trends. So let's welcome our first keynote speaker, Mr. Ajai Garg. Over to you, sir.
First, good morning and good afternoon and good evening to our friends across the globe. This digital platform has become an amazing platform to connect everyone and anyone around the world. And around any digital platform that is there, cloud is there at the back of it. So let's understand the importance of cloud. Let's understand the importance of digital in the industry 4.0 era, and more so the post-pandemic and the distress that the mankind faced because of the pandemic and some sort of a solace brought in by the digitalization that has happened across the world. Yeah. So what I mean, so in modern times, digitalization has become a very important parameter that any person in this globe will need for him to make some sort of an impact on his livelihood or on his ease of life. But at the same time, K-A-T-H-Y. There are many people who are unmuted. May I request them to mute themselves? So thank you. So when the applications are moving from 1.5 billion to 7 billion, when the applications are moving on sectoral basis where a particular solution will impact a large number of people, or when digitalization will actually make a difference in other sectors of economy. So what you require? You require ease of infrastructure and ease of services. And how do you provide that? In a world where digitalization was for the first 1.5 billion people of the world, and to the top 1,000 companies of the world, they can afford to have their own data centers. They can afford to have their own IT infrastructure and their own IT experts, and can afford to visualize what a bespoke development will be. But in a place where it will impact the 5 million SMEs, in a place where it will impact the 7 billion people, you need something which actually supports them, not only at the time of its creation, but in every aspect in handholding. And there cannot be a better utility than the cloud. The speed, the simplicity, and the price points makes it possible because of cloud infrastructures that the scalability of any solution can be achieved in no matter of time. The speed at which the government of India was able to unroll its digital identity solutions where 1.27 billion people are onboarded with a digital identity, authenticated in real time. The speed at which the vaccination happened because of the COVID app, 26 million people vaccinated in a single day, the size of Australia. Amazing. All this possible because these applications were able to be developed because of two factors. You did not need to have your captive IT infrastructure, that is a data center or data centers or other facilities associated with the data center. You don't need to create an application which is bespoke. You develop something which is already available on the cloud and you do an incremental improvement over it. And that's the strength that the cloud infrastructure brings, and Government of India aptly recognizes the fact that cloud reduces the capex cost, reduces the possibility of makes scalability on a real-time basis, and makes it possible that every player, all players in the game, can collectively contribute to digitalization. One of the important factors that I might be missing out here is the software as a service, which is possible only because of a cloud. You need an office instrument, e-office, for 2 hours. Why do you have to have it for 24 hours stored in your computer, stored in your desktop? You are losing the space on that. You are deduplicating the efforts of storage, because also, and that is a lot of impact on the environment as well. So when you have a cloud, and you can have a possibility that dedicated hours can be thrown, so it's there. Realizing this, Mruksenji talked about the Meghraj, but I'll go beyond that. I will go to a factor that how public-private partnership can be a role model for IT development or services being rolled out to the citizen. The Government of India came up with the public cloud policy way back in 2016, where the private cloud players on certain conditions were allowed to be empaneled as cloud providers within the government. These parameters can be related to security, data ownership, data authenticity, and many other factors. But the important point is that this is a real model of a public-private partnership, where the 13 cloud providers right now are actually giving seamless services to the citizens that is related to government providing services to the citizen. And I must tell you, the speed at which the transformation has taken place in the last 5 years because of the public cloud partnership has been phenomenal. The rollout of the e-governance services in the government has increased tenfold because of the involvement of the private cloud, and at the same time has made Meghraj more robust and competitive for it to, and that's what the strength that is brought in when there is a public-private partnership. Now coming to the SAAS and India's IT industry, which the topic for today I will be talking about. Let us understand where India started from. India started as a pure services hub with a very, very conservative numbers of $200 million of market in $200 million of market in 1992, grew to present levels of around $200 billion. 1,000 times multiplication effect in 30 years, a phenomenal growth for an IT industry, providing more than 4.5 million white-collar jobs directly and impacting some of the major infrastructures in terms of urban infrastructures, and bringing in some transformative metros or cities in this country like Bangalore or Hyderabad and many others. But at the same time, the IT industry actually never created an in-house IP. They were working for their clients, basically serving their clients on a services model, and that's what they excelled in, and that they did well, and that they also demonstrated during the strictest of lockdowns in India, when more than 90% of the services were being provided seamlessly to the top 500 MNCs of the world. You'll be amazed to know that none of the critical services of these 500 companies ever faced a challenge during either the first wave or the second wave that came in India. And that was something which we should be proud of, because what we proved ourselves is a trusted partner to trade globally. But at the same time, let's understand the Indian industry is based upon talent. The talent which in India is capable not only for providing services to others, but also is able to create its own low-cost, frugal, and impacting every sector of economic solutions. And that talent is demonstrated through the more than 50,000 startups, 20,000 of them around in the deep tech space, $15 billion flowing into the ecosystem, and of that 60% is flowing into the SaaS space presently, because India now recognizes that a combination of an IP and a services is a way forward for them to actually look in the IT domain. A lot of software as a service companies are emerging. Chennai is emerging as the India's center. And what I believe is that India was the dominant power in the IT services market. India was a dominant market power in the BPM. But India will be a dominant power in the SaaS space, provided we do few things correctly in the next few years. First, need to have a very, very robust, a very predictive data policy for this country, which I hope the personal data protection bill will bring in. The government has already made steps in that. It's a property of the parliament, so I won't be talking about the various elements of it. But the important thing is the way the country handles its personal or non-personal data is important for the cloud and the SaaS space. That's one. The second is your policy around which data has to be stored in India and which can flow cross borders. There has to be clarity on the cross border data flows, and in various, but that's not only related to India, it's related to how the international discourse flows around cross border data flows. One of the countries in the East actually have a very, very strict localization policy. And if they control the data of 1.6 billion people, then there will be reciprocal measures that might be taken by other countries. And it's a very serious concern to understand. The second important thing is that how do you create a conducive environment for creating India's own data centers, India's own cloud infrastructure? And I think discussions are in a very, very advanced stage to provide some sort of an incentive for establishing Indian cloud infrastructure and India data centers. And that will be a very, very important step forward to create our own local infrastructure. I'll also like to mention to you the fact that why the SaaS space becomes important for India. It's important for not only for the fact that it opens a new market domain for India. It opens a possibility that the benefits of the public digital platforms like our digital identity or the UPI or the DigiLocker or many others which are possible because of the cloud actually flows into the economic ecosystem. Our fintech ecosystem, because of the very fact that India is the only has a gateway like the unified payment interface, has opened a lot of possibilities that are there to improve the financial transaction capabilities in the developing world and the less developing world especially, and at the same time create a lot more possibilities around the wallet payment systems. At the same time, it is also important to understand that most of these services are SaaS-based services, and India, because it is able to solve problems on the ground, are giving newer and newer SaaS possibilities. The second important thing which the cloud and the SaaS together can solve is the healthcare. Not possible to have an healthcare with the challenges like what we had during the pandemic and what the challenges it has thrown to the healthcare system. Not possible in the physical world. It's only possible if the whole infrastructure, both physical as well as digital, comes on to a single platform, gets integrated with each other, is this talking to each other on a real-time basis, and that's what will actually revolutionize the future healthcare. Not possible without the cloud. The India Health Stack initiative recently announced by the government is a step in that sector. The other important sector which I will like to talk about, that the Honorable Prime Minister actually launched the Gati Shakti project some few days back, a revolutionary step in improving the logistics. But the core behind that improvement in the logistics is not better roads or better railways. The improvement will come by how do you interconnect these better roads and better railways or better airways. And if you are to integrate, digital will play a key and enabling role. Because let's understand, the smart cities of Europe developed in the 1920s, or 30s, 40s, and the 50s basically built upon physical infrastructures. Today, the smart infrastructures, whether they are cities, ports, airways, or even the villages, are to be actually digitally enabled and digitally modernized. And that will actually create the new horizons for future livelihood mechanism and improving the efficiency and the quality of life of people. The cloud, an important factor, but at the same time has got its own challenges. The challenges, some are related to actual facts on ground, some are related to what is the basic concept on ground is. And I'll briefly touch upon those prior to actually me ending my discourse for today. The first and the foremost challenge is the doubts around the ownership of data in a cloud infrastructure. Most of the small and medium enterprises, even many of the PSUs, get wary of the fact that the moment their data resides on a cloud, the ownership transfers from them to the cloud service provider. And that is one of the important factors that needs to be cleared prior to actually cloud making a major impact on the SME and the PSU sector. The second important thing revolves around the security of your applications, of your data, of your information on a cloud, and how do you actually educate and how do you improve the security infrastructure around the cloud is also important to understand. So what I mean to say that today the world is moving from having silos to having an interconnected world. If the internet and the network connected people through data, cloud will interconnect people through infrastructure, and that is important. It brings in scalability, size, and simplicity to applications. Important. But the important point is that we need to solve the data issues, we need to solve the security issues, and we need to educate the people around this. Such conferences are, I think, an important platforms to actually provide those clarifications to many of the stakeholders. And I think the discourse that are happening today and subsequently will actually be very helpful in creating this discourse. I'm very happy to be part of this conference. Thank you once more for giving me an opportunity to talk to you. I'm not the best cloud expert, but like from a policy perspective, I have given my views on this, and I hope that that might have been useful, because and you'll have better cloud experts to discuss this subject with you in future sessions. Thank you once more.